Hello guys, I'm VisioRacer, and the capability of high revving is very dependent on the rotational mass of the internals inside the engine, and so more cylinders, more pistons means less weight per each cylinder, per each piston, but these are single cylinders, and therefore they have it harder to rev as high as a 2 or 3 cylinder engine, but that doesn't mean they cannot rev as high. So this video is about the highest revving single cylinder engines. Starting this video with a very interesting piece, a HS M1030, which is a single cylinder diesel army motorcycle that was designed on a Kawasaki RS64 chassis with an engine that comes from HDT and was engineered at Cranfield University. This motorcycle was created with a fuel mileage in mind, and US Army was craving for a motorcycle that has a long fuel mileage and runs on a JP8 fuel, a military fuel actually. The engine inside is a liquid-cooled 4-stroke indirect injection non-turbo diesel engine that returns 96 US miles per gallon or 2.6 liter per 100 kilometer and having a fuel mileage of over 400 miles or 650 kilometers. The next one is a gasoline bike, and it is a Ducati Supermono, a rare single-cylinder Ducati, and as you all know, Ducatis are mostly 2-cylinder motorcycles, lately also 4-cylinder. This is a race bike that screams over 10,000 RPM where the power peaks. The cylinder is almost horizontal and there is a dummy connecting rod perpendicular to the cylinder. A street version has a larger 595cc engine with a 999 Rs head, using larger valves, larger throttle body, forged titanium conrods, and billet crankshaft with almost 90 horsepower. KTM 390 Duke. Many of you may not take this bike seriously, but well, I owned it and it is seriously fun bike to ride. It only has 373cc of engine volume, but it screams over 10,000 RPM, 10 to 50 actually in the peak. The engine is good for 45 horsepower at 9,500 RPM, but tuners like to modify it to rev over 11,000 RPM. It is packed inside a very lightweight and sporty chassis that can make a 600cc Supersport a very hard day, especially on a very twisty road. Aprilia RS125 is one of the most famous 125cc motorcycle. It has a 2-stroke Rotax heart packed inside a very sporty chassis with performance parts. It is actually a GP replica with a single-cylinder engine with Nicasil coated cylinder, First, the engine was called 123 and later it was Rotax 122. In the principle, it is the same. Early models had about 44 horsepower, but later it was cut down to 28. Heard about the V3 cylinder Suzuki 2-stroke 50cc bike, but this is a Suzuki RM64 made for 1964 GP series, and it is also a 50cc engine but with a single piston, revving all the way up to 13,000 rpm. The single cylinder has a aluminum block and a 75.5mm long connect ring rod, also with fins for air cooling. There is a 9-speed gearbox with straight cut gears because of a very narrow power band on these engines. The usable power band is often as narrow as 500 rpm. Honda RC110 was actually a rival to the Suzuki, but this was a 50cc 4-stroke engine because at the time Honda was just too proud of a 4-stroke and did not believe into a 2-stroke being such superior to the 4-stroke. The engine was bulkier than the 2-stroke single cylinder and was inclined 35 degrees. The whole bike was very lightweight, about 60 kilograms weight, which makes it a lighter than a rider himself actually. As I said, the difference to the Suzuki engine was that it was a 4-stroke and thus it required a lot more RPM to match the power of the 2-stroke. It featured twin overhead cams and 4 valves per cylinder actually in the 1960s. The power peaked somewhere at 12.7 to 14.4 thousand RPM. There were various gearboxes from 5 up to 9 speeds. And at the end, Honda lagged behind 2-strokes and later dumped the 4-stroke idea. One of the highest revving single-cylinder engines in something that can be ridden by a man is the Motorfree engines, and they are limited to 14,000 rpm, so possibly they could run even higher. These engines are limited to 81mm bore width at most, a single cylinder and 250cc of engine volume tops. KTM uses a M32 engine used in the RC250GP and uses the maximum bore possible, while the competing Honda MR03 uses a 78mm bore width. The Honda NSF250R. Both have about the same power, 54-ish horsepower, with about less than 90 kilograms dry. According to KTM, these engines run from 9 to 14,000 rpm all the time during the racing, and compared to a MX2 engine, it requires about 2.5 times more oil in the sump. that's been it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you liked these videos. I try to create something original every time and bring you some more cool content, especially engines which are not as recognized and known. Thank you again, and leave a comment. I would like to hear what you like the most. Cheers!